So FASS is part of the University of Singapore. It has a long history all the way back to 1905. That's when the King Edward VII College of Medicine was started. So when you see NUS has the origin date of 1905, that's what it means basically. It's because of our links with the King Edward VII College of Medicine. But we ourselves as a faculty were founded in 1929. So we are the oldest university in Singapore, right? Started with 4 subjects, and it grew in strength until now we have 20 majors in 16 departments today. Now, this part here about being first in Asia and ninth in the world in social sciences, I know it doesn't mean much to most students because you're much more interested in the student life and the student educational experience, right? But it will one day. You will look back and say, hey, I was part of that university. It's really, really done well. It also helps because it means that the rankings are also based on employers' feedback. Right, so employers around the world are familiar with the name, with the brand, and that stands you in very good stead as well when you apply for jobs later on. Okay, so this is what it was like in the early days. I'm not that old that I was a part of this, but the first 4 departments in the first 4 subjects in the FASS at that time were English, History, Geography, and Economics, right? And then later subjects were added. Then in 1949, Raffles College was merged. Our Raffles College was merged with the King Edward VII College of Medicine, and we became the University of Malaya. Remember, this was prior to independence, right? And then the Faculty of Arts was established in 1949 with these 5 departments, the first 4, and then statistics and mathematics. Then social work was added. There's a picture of former President S.R. Nathan, social work alumnus. Right, it should be evident to you guys by now that FASS has a very long and illustrious list of alumni, and we're excited about you joining and then you making your own career path and your own impact on society. 10 years from now, 20, 30 years from now, the dean at that time will also be pointing to some of your pictures and saying, you know, so and so was also our alumnus. Yeah, so we're very excited about that as well. Another famous alumnus, the tall man in the middle, is ESM Goh Chok Tong, right? In 1966, a Faculty of Social Sciences was created because economics, sociology, political science, we had all those subjects already, right? And the Faculty of Social Sciences was merged with the Faculty of Arts, those earlier subjects, English, History, Geography, in 1969 to create the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. So this was independent, University of Singapore. We were already an independent country, right? Nanyang University, you guys may know, was also running at a time, started in the 1930s by Chinese community interests, right? The government merged the 2 universities in 1980, and it was only later in 90-something that Nanyang hived off again to form Nanyang Technological University. So all this time, University of Singapore and then National University of Singapore was housed in Bukit Timah campus. And then it's only in 1981 that we moved to the present campus that we have now. FASS continues to grow. As I said, it's got 16 departments and 20 majors. And one of the recent things that we started, I'm going to deal with some of the questions that we've collated. And one of them had to do with employment, especially, you know, prompted by the present situation, the present COVID situation. So I want to highlight this thing that for people who like the question asker who are interested in career prospects and are really thinking ahead about employment. Yeah, if so, then I would really strongly encourage all of you to pay attention to FASS 2.0 industry tracks, as it says on this slide. All right, because that's our way. You can actually see it in the picture on the screen being projected. That's what the industry tracks, the 5 industry tracks look like. All right, let's say a little bit more about this when we get to that question. But it's a new initiative of ours, so I wanted to call attention to it, and it really is our way of helping you guys to track your prospective industry and prepare to be more employment ready. Right, so we are aware of that and we are actively helping our students in those areas. Very, very important actually is introduction to my colleagues. Never mind about the guy on the left, but my important colleagues who will be dealing with you, handling your issues, holding your hand through your university education, all right? And these 2 guys are very, very important. The undergraduate vice deans, Prof. Valerie Wee, who's a film scholar from the Department of English Language and Literature, and Prof. Melvin Yap, who is a psychologist. So they handle undergraduate matters. They are ably assisted by two assistant deans, Prof. Pao, who's from geography, and Dr. Zhang Yang from economics. Right. The gentleman on the right is actually a separate division. Prof. Chen from economics, he's a game theorist. He's actually the vice dean of international relations and special duties. So he's in charge of summer school and of student exchanges in particular. So if you're interested in Fast Track Asia Summer School, interested in student exchanges, look out for Prof. Chen and be very, very nice and polite to him. These two guys are very, very important as well. You will see a lot of them because they are in charge of student life. They handle external relations also, and that means that they do things like internships and mentorships. So also very, very important for your student life experience. Look out for them, be very, very nice to them. Prof. Loy is a philosopher, and Prof. Nicholas Horn is from psychology. This division, research division, you probably have a bit less to do with in your undergraduate years. Although when you get to honors year and honors projects, honors thesis projects, you might actually have some dealings with them. Prof. Lionel Wee is a linguist in ELL. He's the vice dean for research matters. And Prof. Elaine Ho is a geographer and she's the assistant dean in this division. Graduate studies, again, may not be immediately relevant to you guys, but as you approach the end of your undergraduate years and thinking about graduate studies, you may have an opportunity to encounter the two gentlemen on the left. Prof. Lockhart is a historian, and he's the vice dean for graduate studies. And Prof. Ghana is a sociologist, particularly focusing on sociology of crime. He's the associate dean in the graduate studies division. And he also manages our continuing education initiatives. The gentleman on the right, also very, very important because he holds the purse strings. Mr. Mark Ting is the director of administration. He handles finance and space and many other issues, and he's also the incident commander for FASS. Right. So those are my colleagues. Do get to know them, say hi to them if you see them on campus. Right. We are all committed. I can assure you that my colleagues are doing this in addition to the usual duties of teaching and research because they are heavily invested in your welfare. Like me, they share the vision and the mission of making your educational experience as vibrant, as exciting as possible. I'm not going to get too much into the structure of your studies because the individual talks that Mark mentioned will cover most of those things. But you should know that we have three divisions in FASS, and the first is the Division of Asian Studies. This is important because we do require you to take at least one module from each of the three divisions. Right? And the usual student experience is that many students take some of these modules not knowing what's required, and then they get so excited that they end up majoring in many of these subjects that they initially had not intended to major in. So this is Division of Asian Studies, the Humanities Division, and the Division of Social Sciences, which is the biggest one and the one that probably gets the most attention because the two big departments of economics and psychology are there. Right? We also have two multidisciplinary majors, global studies, multidisciplinary, they cut across the different departments and different modules offered by the departments contribute to the majors. So global studies, you will do things like political science modules, geography modules, communications modules, humanities modules, and of course the area studies modules and language modules as well. And our new politics, philosophy and economics, PPE major, right, which draws largely from those three disciplines, those three majors. A little bit more about PPE. Another reason why Prof. Law is important, not just because of student life matters, but also because he's in charge of PPE. And in fact, it's his brainchild. He developed the major. Right? Okay, this is also very, very important, and not many students know that the Center for Language Studies is also in FASS, right? And it offers 13 languages, very, very important in a globalized world. I was in France a couple of years ago, and I saw this student, young student, talking to the waiter in French. Pretty good French. I was wondering whether it's one of our students, right? But didn't want to go and freak her out by going up to ask her. So it's very good to have many of these languages, especially since in a globalized world, certainly before COVID, but probably after COVID settles down as well, it's very likely that you guys may be posted overseas for a while, and it'd be very, very good for you to know the culture, the manners, and the values, as well as the languages of those countries, right? So do think about taking some language courses while you're in FASS as well. Okay, so that's actually the end of my sharing session. And Lynn, you can go ahead and post the shares. I'll stop sharing screen, and then you can go ahead and share screen with the questions that were collated earlier on, right? But while Lynn is doing that, I just wanted to encourage you guys to make the most of your 4 years here. Make the most of your time, right? Uh, the 4 years will fly very, very quickly, basically, right? Um, you do have to get ready for employment. You do have to think about what happens next, definitely. But I would also encourage you to form the ties and the effective bonds with other people while you're here. Many of my, including with your teachers actually. Yeah, so many of my former students are still in touch, particularly on things like, I used to be on Facebook, I no longer am, but we were in touch there. I'm still on Instagram, and some of my students are ex-students are there as well. So we still keep in touch occasionally. In fact, next Thursday I'm having lunch. I and a colleague are having lunch with a former student who is now in MFA as well. Those things are the most rewarding. I would like to think it's rewarding for the students as well, because you get older cheerleaders and mentors who are walking beside you the rest of your career. Excited. She's going to, the former student asked us out for lunch because she wanted to talk about her latest MFA posting. Right. And my colleague and I are very, very happy to go because we're excited to hear what's going on with her life. And, you know, if she needs advice from us, we're very, very happy to try to advise her as well. Right. So one thing I'm going to say as part of my welcome to all of you is really try to maximize your time here. Realize that time flies very, very fast, and it's going to be over faster than you think, basically. Right. So let me just turn my time to some of these questions. And if there's time after that, you guys can then post other questions as well. Otherwise, email them in and somebody will respond to you depending on what kind of question you ask. So this is a good question, and of course, on everybody's mind. What steps is FASS taking to prepare students for an uncertain future? This is where FASS, as well as the other to be fair, the other general educational kind of programs, the non-industry specific programs, stand you in good stead. You actually have an advantage. Because in FASS, you have a broad enough training that you actually have a great deal of flexibility to be able to adjust, right? So even though you may be, for example, an English major, it doesn't mean, of course, that, you know, what happens, you become a teacher. Well, some do, of course, yeah. But you can also work in corporate communications. You can also work as part of a multidisciplinary team, so that as your team members are designing the technical aspects of a product, for example, you can be designing the human interface, right? FASS graduates have that kind of flexibility. Several other things that are advantages for you guys as well. I talked about the FASS 2.0 industry tracks. This is a very, very concrete way that you guys can start preparing for your employment right now, right? The industry tracks, basically what it does is that it looks at the 5 major industries, which are the major employers, right? They employ the most FASS graduates. And then it finds a way for you guys to be tracked along with career catalysts, along with mentorship, compulsory mentorships, compulsory internships, to be tracked along those kinds of paths towards employment in those industries. So if you're fairly certain the broad industry that you're interested in, right? I would say that think about FASS 2.0 industry tracks. It'd be a good way for you to prepare. At the end of the program, we also give you a certificate specifying that you've been through the program and these are the things that you've done. And it's a good thing to send in with your resume when you're applying for jobs, because I think it will catch employers' eyes. I would say that we came up with the scheme by talking to alumni and other stakeholders and industry employers, right, of FASS graduates. And a lot of their input was taken on board when we planned for this program. So I do think that it will therefore be pleasing to them, to your prospective employers, when they look at the certificate and say, oh, that's great. Very good preparation for the kind of industry jobs that we're looking at. Another way that being an FASS student will be advantageous when you graduate and then look for a job is our continuing education initiatives, of course, right? I'm sure you've already heard that as graduates of NUS, you have guaranteed a placement in our continuing education modules for 20 years after graduation. right? So even if the worst case happens and you are hit by, a retrenchment, or you want a career shift, you can come back to FASS to take modules to upgrade your skills, or even to shift into a different kind of line. Okay? Because FASS is so big, it therefore means that we have the widest range of continuing education modules as well to help our alumni. You don't stop being a member of the FASS family when you graduate. You just move from undergraduate family member to alumni family member. So that's very, very important as well. The truth is that we live in a much more VUCA, uncertain, disruptive kind of world than ever before. And that's true of everyone. I hear my colleague, the Dean of Law, even saying the same thing. AI is going to change law. AI is changing medicine as well. FASS is no different. We will be, like everybody else, affected by the changes that are coming ahead. But be assured that we are aware of this and we are doing our best to make you guys ready. And education can no longer end after 4 years, but it must be a continuing lifelong process. Lifelong education is the reality, is the norm. And FASS, because of its size and the range of its disciplines and its modules, is actually in a very good position to help you with the continuing education and lifelong learning project. Next one, Lynn. Okay, technological literacy. This is a good question and this is important. It's available in FASS. I'll put it that way. It's incorporated into some of the disciplines. Yeah, even in the humanities, there are such things as digital humanities, for example. In communications and new media, they actually have a lot of modules that deal with digital interfaces, digital apps development, and data analysis, right? And our Vice Dean Prof. Loy just prompted me that we also have a module, a general education module, computational thinking, GET 1050, which is compulsory for all our FASS students, right? So we will prepare you at a kind of base level for computer literacy. And then depending on what you pursue, a lot of the social sciences modules, for example, have technological components. Geography, for example, has GIS, geographical imaging systems, right, which deals with a lot of aerial data for things like urban planning and geographical mapping and all that, and so on and so forth. CNM, as I said, has a lot of tech data in its app development and its digital platforms development and digital analysis, right? Sociology, psychology actually have quite a fair bit of statistical training and data training, right? So it's up to you guys. I think it's a very good question. I think it reflects a very forward-looking kind of mentality, and I would encourage you guys to be as technologically trained as possible. And is that possible in FASS? To be honest, it's also possible to avoid it by and large, yeah, except for some of the things that we make compulsory, the baseline technological literacy that we make compulsory, like GET 1050. I would not encourage you to avoid it. I would encourage you to embrace it and realize that this is the future, and some degree of technological training, literacy is very, very important for your careers, right? And if you do FASS 2.0, we will in fact curate some of these more advanced tech courses for you that will match your major and will put you in a very, very good position in the eyes of prospective employers. Next, Lynn. Okay. What can I expect when I'm taking modules for my major in FASS? Will all my modules be shifted online? For the coming semester, I'm afraid so. Yeah, so for the coming semester one, in line with other faculties in NUS and in fact other educational institutions, not just in Singapore but around the world, I know that Cambridge, for example, is going to have mostly online classes in the coming semester, right? So we will be the same. We will be having mostly online class. Overwhelming majority of classes will be online for the coming semester. A small number that we can fit according to social distancing norms may be face-to-face still, but the bulk will be online. Please understand that we have to try to balance different competing requirements, right? On the one hand, we want to give you the best educational experience possible. And we do understand, of course, believe me, we prefer small group face-to-face teaching. All of us do, because that's where we really interact with our students. But we have to balance that, of course, with safety. Not just for you guys, I know you guys are young and strong, but think about your parents, think about your grandparents and other vulnerable groups around you in your communities, in your family, at home, right? So we do have to try to balance those things. Please understand, yeah? If things improve, we will try to go back to complete face-to-face teaching in semester 2, but we may have to phase it in. Yeah, but certainly, of course, over the course of 4 years of studies, you will have adequate face-to-face, on-class, on-campus experience as well. It's just unfortunate that you should start the first semester with online learning. Right? Lynn, next. Okay, this is a trick question, of course. Yeah, is there one value in any faculty that is not possessed by any other faculty? Probably not. But if I were to try, and it's probably, if we were to try to distill the essence, this uniqueness of an FASS graduate, it's probably a basket of values. Things like articulateness, ability to express themselves well, right? Flexible, intellectually curious minds, people who work well together, especially in multidisciplinary teams, right? So how do you distill that into one value? That's why I say it's a trick question in multiple levels. Right? Maybe what we could say is something like engaging society holistically. That's probably what FASS graduates are best at. All the other professional training courses, they take you deep into certain aspects of society. Business, for example, takes you deep into business, yeah, and that has a very human aspect. So that's quite a broad discipline, that's true. But it's still largely about profit and loss, about entrepreneurship and making a certain headways in that certain kind of dimension, right? Likewise, law, likewise, planning. School of Design Engineering is about planning, is about design, right? I think FASS is the one that really tries to get you to see human activity, human society holistically and to engage with it. You will still engage with it predominantly through the lenses of your major. So sociologists will look at society from sociological, anthropological lenses, and economists will still look at it from economic sort of angle. But the good thing about the FASS education is that you have other dimensions as well, like the compulsory GET 1050 computational thinking. You have the compulsory writing, expression, and communication modules. You have the 3 modules that we require you to take, one each in the 3 divisions of FASS. Hopefully, you will also be taking language courses. You'll be participating in our FASS summer school. Altogether, the whole FASS experience actually puts you in a very good position to engage society as a whole, to see different aspects and different dimensions of society, and to contribute to the society by their understanding in multiple dimensions. Okay, do we have one more question, Lynn, or is that the last one? Okay, yes. How can students maximize available opportunities and resources in NUS FASS? This is what I was talking about earlier on. My favorite line from Star Trek Next Generation, yes, I know that ages me, is when Captain Jean-Luc Picard says, whenever he sets a new course, he says, engage, right? So that's my word for you, my takeaway word, engage. Engage with your fellow students, engage with the opportunities available, engage with your teachers. You know, the FASS teachers and my colleagues really love what they do, really love teaching. And we are very happy when students don't think of it as bothering your lecture. We actually like it when students come up to us and engage and ask further questions. This is what you're paying for, right? And I dare say that this coming in at the kind of COVID season with e-learning will make this much more, bring this much more home and make us all realize what we're missing. For us, the lecturers, we miss that kind of face-to-face interaction. And hopefully you guys, you know, after this first semester, will be able to come back on campus and we'll realize after the first semester of e-learning that you really miss this. This is what's important, engaging with your fellow students. Actually, it's really a kind of a market of ideas. You bring your ideas, and we always benefit from students speaking up and expressing their ideas. And we share our experience and ideas with you as well. And then we engage in dialogues that are productive, that change those kinds of the ways we think, right? Do that in the classroom, right? Especially the small group teaching. That's the opportunity for you to speak up. Yeah, no more than 25 students in a small group, sometimes even fewer. Lots of opportunities for you to work with your classmates on group presentations, to engage with your lecturers, ask questions by email, all right? The lecturers enjoy it. I enjoy it as a teacher, right? So engage with your lecturers, engage with your classmates, engage with the student live activities and the FASS club activities as well. right? Get the most out of your time, knowing that, sleep is less important. You can sleep after you graduate, right? Um, but what's really important in the 4 years that you have is just to maximize the educational experience. Take a summer fast track Asia summer school as module as well, and get to know more of the region. Try to go on student exchange for a semester. That's also important. It helps you to engage with other cultures, other universities, right? So just remember, Jean-Luc Picard, Star Trek Next Generation, engage for the full 4 years, all the different possible aspects of FASS. Okay, I think my time is up. So unfortunately, we can't take any more questions, but you can still email your questions in. Let me just round up. Yeah, so there you go. All right. Yeah, fast help, very, very important. Let me just round this up by welcoming you all again, by saying that I am very, very happy and excited that you are joining us. And I look forward to guiding you through your educational experience in your time in FASS. My colleagues and I hope that you will have a very, very productive time. And we trust and know that in time to come, you will be the kinds of alumni that will really be able to impact Singapore society, as many of your predecessors have done, and to make us very, very proud of you. So again, I wish you all the best and welcome to FASS.